Once again, our friends from Hubcity Theatre are back with another great play this month. They take on the classic Dial M for Murder. It's going to be at the Empress Theatre November 18th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. We have a few of the actors here to talk to us about that. Thanks for coming in, gang.
Thank you
for having us.
Cyril Johnson, Cody Bolton, and Rebecca Rideout. Thanks so much for coming in, gang. So this is awesome. I'd say that you guys are kind of like maybe going against the grain on this one because you're going to be doing a thriller, murdery type of play just as the holiday season starts to ramp up. What was the idea behind this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, honestly, there wasn't really any thought gone into it in regards to that. It's something different. We did The Mousetrap 2 years ago, and we found a lot of success with The Mousetrap in terms of just in terms of the number of people who came out and the critical reception of it. And so doing something along those lines, although this time it's a bit more of a thriller and less of a whodunit, was kind of our idea, and to do something a little bit different. And hey, you know what? For those people who are, maybe sometimes you get people who are a little scared to celebrate Christmas this early, you know, maybe they gotta wait till December. Hey, let's come check out some murder. You know? That's fun.
Check out some murder. Yeah. Next year, you guys will be doing one of the Friday the 13th movies.
Yes.
Are there stage versions?
Let's hope not. Let's just hope not. So tell us a little bit about this play for those who don't really know. What is it's written by Frederick Knott, probably made famous by the Alfred Hitchcock movie. So what is this play about?
Yeah, I mean, if you check out our descriptions online, you can see a lot about it online too. But basically, it's about a man who plots to murder his wife for some reasons that we'll leave to the play itself. But yeah, it's about a man who plots to murder his wife, and devises this really elaborate scheme, this very clever scheme to do it. And it doesn't quite go according to plan. And so part of the play is kind of leading up to this big murder. And then it's the aftermath of what happens there as well. So it's kind of two very distinct parts, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a game of cat and mouse and an intense thriller to it. So, yeah.
Right on. For plays like this, like for one, I've had you guys on the show before. You've done some great plays in the past. You've done some Shakespeare comedies. Is there, when you're acting and you're trying to nail this very kind of intense kind of thriller, is that harder to kind of to hone that in? Do you guys kind of like have to let loose at the end of it to kind of get these, you know, once you're sunk in as you're really trying to nail a drama? I would suspect that is there a moment where you kind of have to let loose a little bit to kind of let the energy out?
Well, I think that it's a little bit different. There's a lot of very short and quick-paced dialogue in this show because there's a lot of questions and answers going on, and I play the role of a detective who's questioning the witnesses, and so there's a lot of stuff that has to be done very precisely. And I think precision would be the difference in this show in some ways compared to, let's say, the Shakespeare productions that people might be familiar with us doing in the summertime. So it has to be very precise, but it also builds to a very clear climax at the end. And so that the tension is being ramped up all the way through. For some of your older viewers, the style of this is very much like the Columbo show, where the audience understands what's taken place, and the thrill is, all right, is the perpetrator going to get away with this or not?
Is the detective going to figure it out, or will the...
That's right. Is the detective going to be able to figure this out, and how? So that's the kind of show it is, and so I think it's really a very precisely plotted thriller, and the dialogue is very precise as well.
Yeah, it's a very detailed play.
Yeah. Is that a little bit harder to kind of work on something like that?
It is. It's the first script I've ever seen where everything is plotted out very carefully. I won't get into it, but there was a line, it's actually kind of comical. They said, well, this has to be set up like this has to happen, and if it doesn't, that's just too bad. It says that right in the script. So you're like, okay, so, blocking sometimes, especially when you're learning a play, it might come secondary too. lines, but for this it's so important, and there's so many things that have to be done a certain way for it to pan out later, that things like that
So
are very
does that
important.
mean there's not a lot of room for improvisation as you might allow for other
I mean, character-wise, you always get room to improvise a little bit, but in terms of like blocking, in terms of the actions you have to take, in terms of the way you have to be facing at a certain time and facing away, I mean, I know we've talked about it quite a bit, but I know for myself personally, and maybe they'll agree, this is probably one of the most challenging plays I've ever actually done. It's just very dense. When you have your stage directions taking up almost a page at a time, and they are all very important and critical, that tells you a lot right there.
Does that make it a difficult rehearsal? I can imagine
a different kind of rehearsal. A different kind of rehearsal, I think, than maybe what we would have with something like Shakespeare.
Right.
You know.
I think that in this show, because the precision is so important, not only of your lines but of your actions, at this stage in the rehearsals, that's still really the primary focus, and it's a little bit harder to start to really get characterization down until everything else is exactly done in terms of the timing, in terms of the blocking. Not that you don't work on characterization, but in a Shakespeare where your lines might take you 2 or 3 minutes to deliver, it's easier to memorize that and to work on your characterization than where it's brief snippets.
and you're so focused on hitting those markers instead of actually being able to kind of work on the character. Rebecca, I was looking at your bio with your time with Hubcity Theatre. It said that you had done stuff in the Mousetrap, but you're also an assistant behind the scenes stage person for Roomies.
Yes.
As an actor, and especially for a play as technical as this, does that behind the scenes kind of experience help when you then go back and act, knowing that what goes on behind the scenes when it comes time to act on stage?
It definitely makes me appreciate the people who are backstage a lot more. Roomies was a very prop-heavy show. I had a big table that I'd lined out with tape, each square. This is the scene. These are things that have to come on and off. So it definitely makes you, as an actor, I guess sometimes you get used to things sort of magically appearing and being there when you need them. It really makes you appreciate the people who are behind the scenes moving these things and making sure those important things appear when you need them.
No, I would imagine right? All of a sudden that becomes so much more important, again, for a play like this.
Yes.
Cyril, I was looking at your bio as well. You've done The Sound of Music, you've done King Lear with the Atlantic Ballet Theatre, Sound of Music with Capitol Theatre, you were in Comedy of Errors for Hubcity Theatre. You're just knocking them out of the park recently, aren't you? What
Well,
is this?
I'm not sure about that, but
When was the last time your wife saw you at home?
yeah, probably too recently for her. No, I'm just kidding.
2013.
I do a lot of shows every year, and I've enjoyed it a great deal. But I started acting late in life, so I have to catch up to people like Cody and Rebecca in terms of my time on stage. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a wonderful hobby to adopt, and I've enjoyed it tremendously. And the great thing about acting, and I think what you mentioned about the backstage people, is there's room for everybody to work in this. And Moncton has got numerous opportunities for people in the creative fields, and a lot of support, and I think within the community as well.
Good point. Cody, I want to ask you this question. And as you see, we don't have a lot of time left, but I mean, you've been with Hubcity Theatre for a long time. I think you're a member of the board of directors.
Yes, correct.
You've directed plays, you've acted in them. Why is it important for communities to have troupes like this, to be able to offer this type of programming?
Well, I think the trick there is to have, when we're talking about theater, creative arts, and the theater arts especially, to have troupes that offer different kinds of experiences. I mean, we have high schools who offer musicals, we have different troupes who offer dinner theaters, and we do our own special things. We do the classics and we do Shakespeare, and we also do some original works as well. Roomies itself was an original work as well. So I think offering a variety of things that appeals to a different kinds of audiences, I think that's really important. I mean, you want to appeal to a broad audience and find something that each person will want to come out to. Family shows, a thriller like this that you probably wouldn't bring the whole family to, maybe. But you want to be able to offer those kinds of things. I think that's very important, especially as Moncton continues to grow in that area, to be able to offer those kinds of opportunities that people can get involved in and just participate in.
I totally agree. I think that is true. Diversity in this kind of those different arts is super important.
Absolutely.
Empress. On November 17th, 18th, and 19th. Dial M for Murder, Hubcity Theatre. Make sure you check them out. Check out their website as well to find out more information. Thank you so much for coming in, guys.
Thank you.